love your enthusiasm. I mean, your enthusiasm is contagious. I think that's one reason why you're such a captivating YouTuber, pen expert, that everybody gets excited to watch your videos. I can even tell from your voice right now, I'm getting that energy. So it's a great way to start off the weekend. So that being said, I did receive a chat message, and okay, so one of my friends told me that we're not able to authorize everybody to record, because if I do change the settings, that means everybody can record and jump in. So we'll just keep it me for now, but I will send the file over right after the call. What happened to me? Is he still on? I can't see him, but that's fine. We're gonna get started. So let's have Eric kick off the meeting as our ambassador. He is going to ask you the first question, and I believe he met you in person previously in a couple of pen shows. So let's get started.
Hey, David. Eric Aycock. Obviously, I'm not Jessica. I'm also at Pen Geek 13. I know you and I've talked a couple times on YouTube, and I won your Colorverse scavenger
hunt. Yes, you had to. Did you have to go find the piano, or was that
I did.
Picture? Yeah, okay. Yes.
I found it. I had to find the piano in the back of the ballroom.
So I'll tell that story really quick. That I had a couple of Colorverse shirts to give away, and that was at the DC show, and I decided to do a little scavenger hunt. And so I put little clues I just put a picture somewhere and then took a picture of it and put it on Instagram. And I had done it a couple of times. And then I just thought it'd be fun for the people that were there at the show. And yes, that Eric saw that and noticed that it was on a piano that just happened to be in like a back room in a back thing. I was trying to hide it pretty good, but somewhere. And I guess you were running around asking all of the staff at the hotel,
employees.
like, where's the piano? Where's the piano? You know, and they're probably wondering, like, what is this guy asking for a piano? But yes,
they were definitely confused.
Yes.
But yeah, I still have that. Actually, my daughter has it now currently, so that's one of her dress up shirts. But yeah, so thank you for being in here. I'm one of the ambassadors for Yafa, so I get to kick this off, which is really cool. So my question for you. It's actually like a two-part question is, how did you first get into pens, and do you remember what your first fountain pen was?
Yeah, I do. That my first fountain pen was one where I was introduced to fountain pens from a friend from work. I had a friend from work who had a Lamy, and honestly, I can't remember if it was an All-Star or a Safari. I can't remember if it was one or the other. I think it was an All-Star. And one day he just kind of said, you know what, you might like this. And he handed me the All-Star and told me about a retailer that I only, and said, go to this retailer and you could get one. And so I bought this silver All-Star right here that I still have.
Nice.
And for the longest time, I knew about that one retailer. And I was so naive, and whenever I needed refills, I didn't even use bottled ink. I just used the cartridges, and I would go to that one retailer for cartridges, and for the longest time I had this one pen, and I was happy. And then I was part of a Reddit gift exchange, and someone got me like a Parker Urban set.
Oh, cool.
And the older Parker Urban, and that was the first pen that I used that you could actually use bottled ink with. And so then I was kind of exposed to the bottle ink, and I had those two pens for a couple of years and was happy. I think I might've gotten a couple of Metros or something like that. But then after a while, I kind of thought, you know what else is out there? And then, which is a very dangerous question.
It is.
To ask. But
it
then,
once you get in, you can't come out.
Yeah, and then that led me to then where a lot of people are is like, okay, I don't know what to buy. And so then I started scouring like every top 10 and top 5 list that I could come up with or find, and figured, okay, if these pens keep showing up on all of these lists, then the chances of them being a good pen is probably high, because the idea of spending $30 or $40 on a pen, I mean, at that time seemed insane.
Oh yeah.
And so it took a while to kind of get into that. And I got a TWSBI Diamond 580, and I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And then I kind of was like, okay, if there's this pen that's so cool, then what other cool things are out there? And that was a
Can
really
I
question.
make a joke if you guys accept it? I know it's not going to be that funny right now, but every time you use a different brand that's not Yafa, I wish we had the system where it would go like, you know, like on TV shows, if you say a bad word or like you're smoking cigarettes, it blurs it out. So for the next live session, I'm incorporating that for next week. But I think that's great. So what I want to jump in here is, how did you get introduced to Yafa? Like, what was your first Yafa ink and pen? Who introduced you to that? Did you just come across the website, or was it Ken Jones? How did that connection happen?
You know, I think that it was probably at some of the pen shows that I started to go to. And then I start becoming a little bit more aware of the difference between a company and the distributor. And then you kind of become more aware of the folks that are distributing the different brands and the different brands that that are being covered. And I can remember sitting down at one of the shows and talking with Nev and kind of learning a little bit more about the brand, and that he was able to give me a few things to review, and then we've kind of had a relationship since that point in time. And so that I think that the brands that you guys have are very nice. I think the Diplomat was an excellent addition for you guys. I think that Diplomat's really knocked it out of the park, especially since you guys have been managing that brand. And it's nice to see how that's come along, because I always felt that was a quality brand that was a little underappreciated, that was making some good pens, and they've really knocked it out of the park since you guys have taken
Now
it
that
over.
you say Diplomat, I actually unmuted Ken Jones because I know he has always insider information of like new pens. I know that when Pinnider is coming out, when anyone's asking me a question, he's the person to go to. Like, he knows all the secrets about the pen world. So Ken, yes. Diplomat, do we have anything coming up this year? Can you announce something, or is there anything going on that you're able to address here?
Well, there is their first limited edition in the works.
Okay, it's going to be exciting. Everybody's holding their breath right now.
In June, July. It's based on the Arrow, but it's not an Arrow for sure. And I really can't even say the name of it or anything, but it should be out by the last quarter of this year. It's going to be killer, believe me, killer.
Looking forward to checking it out.
Unbelievable.
And Pinnider's been doing some very good things as well. And
yes.
I actually have one of the demonstrator avatars here that I need to review. Except they changed the section recently. That was something that I had to, I was a little confused when I got it, because the section is a little different than everyone has pictured on their sites. And so I'm like, okay, is this a mistake, or is this a change, or
it just changed over.
I had to get some explanation on that, but that the sections, basically the sections like some of their other pens that they have, it's just not the gel one that they normally had on this one.
It's like the regular Avatar, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. But this is an interesting one that I'm looking forward to inking up and taking a closer look at here in the next couple of weeks.
I'm also muting Yair so he can, engage with the conversation. He also has all the newest pen information. So if you guys ever want to kidnap either Ken Jones or Yair, you'll learn everything about what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks for Yafa in terms of new product releases. So before we continue on this, I actually wanted to unmute Vanessa so she can jump in as our second ambassador. She's one of our longest ambassadors, and she was really excited about this call. So she has some questions for you. I know we're jumping from question to question, but we have to be mindful of our time, and the community submitted 5 questions for you per person from Facebook. So I have to manage the time quickly. All right, so Vanessa, you're up next.
David, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Well, I hear that maybe you're in need of a new logo for your Figboot channel, so I've taken the liberty to create one for you. So,
well, thank you.
I'm kind of excited about it. What it is, it's a...
I think you have a surprise here.
It's a Fig Newton.
Oh, wow.
Some boots and a hat on, so it's a Fig boot.
Oh.
So
that is very creative. Thank you.
That is so cute. That is so amazing. Vanessa is always so thoughtful with
and so, I'm in Texas, so of course I have to, it's got to be a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. So, but anyway, so that's, I'll be posting that to Instagram later if you want to take a closer look at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure, yeah.
You should just sign your artwork and send a copy to all the guests as the creative
I've
co-host
actually,
of.
well, because all they do, they just sit in a folder when I'm done with them. So I should just send them all out. Except
I think Eric wants a tattoo of that, by the way. He just messaged me saying, who's getting a tattoo of that? So David Parker, on your birthday, I think you're getting that as a tattoo.
Yeah.
That's what the community wants. And we'll live stream it on YouTube.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm going to want photos because if there's no photo, it didn't happen. So. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question regarding, are you a San Diego Padres fan by any chance?
Yes, that I grew up in San Diego and lived there for 40 some odd years. And now I'm on the East Coast in North Carolina, but I still consider myself to be a San Diego boy and a Southern California boy. That still feels like home.
I lived out there twice. I was stationed over at North Island during the late 90s. And during that time, I became a San Diego Padres fan. And so one of my favorite San Diego Padres was Tony Gwynn. I thought he's like Mr. San Diego. He was just a kind guy, really awesome, great player. And then that would be followed by Trevor Hoffman because he's the best pitching closer, in my opinion. So that being said, I'm curious if Tony Gwynn, if he was a fountain pen or a pen, would he be a Conklin Mark Twain crescent filler?
Product placement. There you go.
Would he be a Monteverde Engage?
Oh.
Or would he be a Bic?
That's a tough one. There's
only one wrong answer. And I mean, this is disgusting.
Well, now you're going to make me emotional because maybe other folks who aren't Padre fans don't quite understand how beloved Tony was. And he's no longer with us. And actually today is his 60th birthday.
That's what I thought about that. I saw that you were collecting Padre jerseys. I was like, he must be a fan. He must be a San Diego Padres fan. So. And
there, just a quick Tony Gwynn story. I mean, there was years when the Padres just stunk. And the only reason you would go to the ballpark was to watch him bat 4 times a game. And he was so beloved by the city. It was amazing. And there was, after he had retired, he actually went on to coach at San Diego State. He was the baseball coach for there. And there was a day when my son and I were out and about on a Saturday, or I can't remember what day it was. And we decided to go check out the stadium at San Diego State just because we hadn't seen the baseball stadium there. And so we went there and the team happened to be practicing. And so Gwynn, and we were just hanging out in the stands, and Gwynn was there hanging out and the team was practicing. And my son at the time was probably 11 or 12 years old. And Gwynn was, and we were the only people in the stands, and he was kind of hanging out not far from us. And my son was really nervous, and I kind of yelled out and said, "Hey, Tony, my son wants to play for you one day." And so we turned around and said, "Well, why isn't he saying that?"
Oh, wow. What a cool exchange.
And then he said, I said, "Oh, he's kind of nervous." And he said, "No guts, no glory." And so then he kind of waited a minute, and then he came over and talked to us. And when I say we probably talked for a half hour, we just talked about all sorts of things for a half an hour and hung out to the point where it was like, I think I almost had to say, "Well, Tony, I think I got to get going." But he was very kind and generous with his time. And it was interesting to see someone who had been in the pro game kind of have to then deal with the institutional things of going back to the college game. And he was having to deal with like, "Hey, I need to buy some balls and supplies for the team. And I'm used to just going out and buying stuff. Now I got to fill out 10 pieces of paperwork in order to buy supplies for the team." And he was having to deal with all of that type of thing. So his swing was very compact. It wasn't very flashy.
No, not at all.
It didn't have a lot of parts to it. I would say it would, I would maybe go towards the Engage just because it was rather simple, but he wasn't quite flashy. He wasn't necessarily a flashy player, but he
But
had
a
one of
functional
the,
one.
yes, but functional, but had one of the sweetest swings, and watching him put balls in the 5.5 hole was a joy, and I really miss him.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that the Engage is definitely a pen that I think could embody Tony Gwynn for sure. Yeah. So the closest thing I think we got a Tony Gwynn baseball, right? Yeah, that's the closest thing we have is a signed Tony Gwynn baseball, which is pretty cool to have. So yeah, well, thanks so much for answering my question. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for asking. It's something I was passionate about. I could probably talk for another half hour about Tony
That's what
Gwynn stories.
we are a baseball household here. So
I noticed that 20 minutes of the call became baseball, but that's fine. We're going back to pens.
My apologies if no one else
is baseball. I think that was one of the most creative and awesome questions that was asked in all of the Q&As. Thank you for that. By the way, we're live right now on Monterey Instagram. I know we had limited spots for this live session. For the ones that weren't able to receive their invite, they can tune in right now and ask their questions through this channel. So the next person that's up next is, I keep mispronouncing her name. So I studied really hard on this as much as I studied the guest. So let's see if I'm gonna get it right. I'm trying to unmute her. Katie.
You got it.
It was a very simple one, but for some reason, I wanted to make you Kathy. So I'm glad that.
It's okay, you got it.
I got it.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you to practice.
So I'm really excited about your question too. I think it's one of the ones that all of us wanted to know the answer. Please go ahead and take on the microphone.
Okay. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Katie. Good, thank you.
Good. My boyfriend just walked by a minute ago. He goes, "Is that Figboot on the screen?" I was like, "It is." We watch you a lot in our household, so thanks for all that you contribute.
Well, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we love your channel. So my question is, I think, as we have all kind of been living in this COVID world, we're starting to wonder about pen shows. And I wondered a couple of things. I wondered first how you've been staying in touch with the community during the virus.
By the way, the question that I liked was the new one.
Oh, sorry.
No, this is okay too. This is good too. So just because I increased the anticipation and everybody was like, whoa, what is that new great question? And you're like, oh, so what's going to happen?
What about COVID? Okay, I'll ask the other question first then. Why are you called Figboot?
We had some theories on this, but we weren't sure. So.
Well, what's your theory? Let me hear your theory first.
I'm actually going to unmute Aidan and Eric because I think they mentioned something about Bigfoot. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I just remember in your, one of the Q&As on your YouTube channel talking about, it was some story or book that you had where Bigfoot was online dating or something like that, and is
yes.
Yeah.
So
and you had the artist made you a copy of it too, right?
Yes,
yep.
I did.
Yep.
So before I started doing these things, when you have to come up with online monikers for yourself and things like that, that I like it to refer to something and things like that. And there was these books. I don't know if that's backwards for you or forwards. Is it backwards or?
No, I can see it fine. Yeah. No,
okay. It's a series of books by a Canadian author and illustrator by the name of Graham Romeo, and this is Me Write Book, and they're very irreverent. So it's very polarizing. Either you would read this and think it's the funniest thing in the world, or you'd be like, what the hell is this? I don't. So it's not for everybody, but it just makes me laugh. And yes, and in one of the pages, this is Bigfoot's dating profile, and up in the upper corner, you could see that his username was actually Figboot _2001 was his user dating profile. There was times when, let's see, I was trying to think of some of the other things. There's things about how, oh, this one was how he tried out for Sesame Street and didn't get the job. But then he got angry and he met this green guy in the lobby and threw him up against the wall and paralyzed him. And so then Sesame Street felt like they had to hire him, so they put him in a trash can, and that's Oscar the Grouch. And that's why he's in the trash can, is because Bigfoot did so. See, that's why I said it was a little irreverent, but that's the type of humor that are in these books. But then, yes, I did actually make contact with the author and had him do a painting, which let me see here. Let me see if I can do this, if it's going to let me share this. And this is, oh no, that's okay. I have a picture of Bigfoot that's hanging in my office, and it's a prized possession of mine, and I really enjoy it. It's in my office at work. And then I actually, maybe a couple of months ago, actually reached out to the author again and kind of shared with him that, hey, I have a YouTube channel and other things. And he got a kick that Bigfoot or Figboot kind of had a life of its own, and was glad to see that. So yes, that's what it is. And yes, and but then I do have the burden of then having to explain what is Figboot for the rest of my life. But I guess that's there's worse problems out there. But that's the origin of it. It basically refers to a comedy book, but it's just something that means something to me.
I can't imagine that you ever thought when you gave yourself that name then that people would be calling you that and yelling Figboot at you forevermore.
Well, you know what? I would use it for online gaming, and I mentioned this in one of my last videos. I used to play a lot of like World of Warcraft and things like that, and so that was my character name in World of Warcraft. And generally, you're calling people by their character names, and so I was kind of used to it anyways, because that's what people would call me in the game. So yes, and then like if I go to pen shows and things like that, I'll answer to it. So it doesn't bug me, and that's perfectly fine. But yes, I wanted to name my channel something unique, so it wasn't just like a generic name that would, something that would stick out. And then,
I think that's a great name. Honestly, it sticks out, and that's how everybody knows you.
Yeah.
So what are you doing these days now that pen shows are canceled and we're all in our house? I think I'm really appreciative of Yafa for sponsoring every Saturday with us at 11 a.m. and making this live Q&A happen for the pen community. I think this is really important so we can all stay connected. But in terms of pen shows being canceled, how do you, what does the new normal look like for you? I think that was, let's see if I'm going to pronounce it right, Katie's. I'm going to unmute you again so you can jump in. That was the second part of her question. So let's kind of talk a little bit about that.
I am thankful for gatherings like this, and I have gone back and watched some of your other ones, like like the one with Brendan and some of the other folks that you guys have spent time with. And getting together like this have been fun. And there's been a few other gatherings that one of the things I really enjoyed about shows was not just necessarily going to see the pen, it was hanging out with everybody. And that was basically 75% of why I went to shows, was to see all of my friends. And the pen community has really given me a significantly larger social circle of some very good friends that we have common interests in. And so I really enjoyed doing that. And I was very disappointed we couldn't go to Atlanta, and that pen show was closed, and that the Raleigh show coming up that is on my schedule, I typically go to, or I always go to, is gone. And hopefully, not that we need to run back to going to shows, but maybe by DC, possibly. I'm not quite sure.
With masks and social distancing, maybe we can make it happen.
Maybe. We'll see what it looks like in August, but I'm looking forward to getting back to that, because it's the personal contact like this and hanging out with everyone that makes it fun. Yes, it's fun to use pens, and yes, it's fun to learn about new things and things like that, but it's basically, learning about other people and hanging out with other people and making friends and relationships that relate to the hobby that really make it special and fun. And I'm looking forward to getting back to that in person, but events like this that you guys put on kind of help bridge the gap.
Well, awesome. So that actually ties into the next question that we have. Aidan is our other ambassador. He's super creative as well, and he's a great support. So he's been tuning into all of the Q&As we had so far. Aidan, what's your question?
So yeah, thanks for joining us. And my question was, you've done a bunch of reviews in the past. So what's a pen that has like surprised you or really surpassed your expectations?
I think that there's a bunch that the more time I spend with them, the more I like them. And not just because it's recency bias, but one that I spent a lot more time recently, just because I posted a review of it earlier, was the Engage that I just looked at, because this was one that at first, when you look at it, you could dismiss it as just a rollerball and it's just that. But then the more I was able to use this, I like the fact that you could put the fountain pen ink in here and do what you want to in regard to that. But then the more I physically used it, the more I actually liked it. And that there's a purpose for it, because you can't use a fountain pen for everything. And so it was kind of one of those things where the more I used it, the more I realized how I could use it and the places I could use it. And then when you kind of can fit a pen into a need, then you end up being able to use it that much more and enjoy it that much more. But that was one that surprised me, because I had it sitting around for a while and I needed to get around to doing a review of it. And once I actually started using it, it ended up surprising me. And I like actually all of the 3 different variants on it. The rainbow is awesome. I love the carbon fiber. And then I also like the demonstrator. So usually when there's variants of a pen, you kind of like some more than the others. I like all 3 of them. I think they're all very sharp.
I think that's great. Now that we have so much love going on with Monterey Engage, and Vanessa is showing off her collection. If anybody has their collection, you're free to show off your Yafa products. That's fair game. I'm going to show off with my All-American in a few, but I wanted to ask Neve a question. Neve, do you think we can make Monterey Engage giveaway happen on Instagram and Facebook right now? Do you think you can? Can I get an approval on that right now?
Let's have it in David's YouTube channel.
Okay,
yeah,
David, can we do a giveaway on your YouTube channel with the Engage, since you like it and Neve is sponsoring it for us? So maybe someone can win from this chat group that doesn't have that pen.
I have 3 that I'm giving away.
You are? Wow.
Yeah, I announced that this week that I have 3 that I'm giving away that you guys were generous enough to provide. And for the folks that are that watch the review or will, the contest was that they had to send me a letter. So use your fountain pens, use your pens, and if you send a letter. Yeah, and write a letter or a postcard or something like that, and it had to be postmarked by the end of next week, like next Saturday or something like that, the 16th. And then I'd wait a while for all of them to come in, and then I would pick 3 winners. And so if anyone wants to go ahead and, or if anyone wanted to write a letter, then they could be entered into that giveaway.
Okay, Melinda is up next.
Anybody knows your channel? I hope everybody join your channel and enjoy your beautiful reviews there. I really like them.
Thanks. I appreciate that. It's basically kind of like an extension of the hobby, to where, it's fun to play with pens, but then I like video production and I like things like that. And I like writing. And so it's a way for me to use my pens more and talk about them and kind of create something. It's almost like having your hobby to where you get to create something as opposed to just sitting back and using something. And then it's a bonus that it's beneficial to other people and other people like it. So that's kind of.
And David used to be a surfer, no?
Yeah, I did my fair amount of
Oh,
surfing.
wow.
Nobody know that. Yeah.
Well, you grew up in San Diego. That's, pretty much what you have to do.
Yeah.
So I had my longboard, and I would go out there on a regular basis and get the snot beat out of me by the waves. So, but yeah, San Diego has good surf, not like fantastic, really good surf, but not like it's not as rough as some areas. But you still have to be careful out there. But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm a Southern California boy.
Melinda is actually up next. She has a question. She had multiple questions, but Melinda, I like your last question. Can you go ahead and ask that? I think that's super creative. I'm curious to hear the answer. Yeah.
So David, I'm calling to you from the Locked in the Library from North by Northwest, alternatively Seattle. I understand you're a film buff. And so if Yafa were to design the perfect Hitchcock themed pen, what movie might it draw from and what qualities would it possess?
Okay. I again, not to go into another rabbit hole, I could talk for an hour just on, talking about Hitchcock and things like that. But I guess I am a big film buff. I posted this yesterday on Instagram, but every summer our family kind of has a little project we do of some sort. And this summer's project is watching as many Miyazaki films as possible. And so like last night we started with Princess Mononoke, and then we're just going to work our way through as many as we can. But, I'm wanting to get to the point where I can share some of the Hitchcock films and things like that with everybody. And I'd say my favorite Hitchcock film is Psycho. For a number of different reasons. It was culturally important, and it was important when it came to the aspect of filmmaking. And I would say I would like one. I mean, I do have they do have some pens based on some of the overall works of Hitchcock. But if we just had to focus on one film, then I would say Psycho is probably my favorite that I would like to see one based on. And maybe it could have some references to Mother in there, or maybe maybe on the end of the, on the end of the cap or something like that, it could have a little fly that kind of references the last line of the film where he says that they wouldn't even harm a fly. And something about, there's so many moments and aspects of that film that I'd like to see represented that would be great. But I'd love to, a whole pen themed around Psycho would be nice.
So I did add David Parker's channel on the right column in the chat box. I'm sure all of you guys are already subscribed, but if you aren't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe on his channel. And we have Nicholas up next. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Hopefully you could hear me.
Hi.
You can, yeah.
Okay, good. Hi, David. I'm a professor, and some of the work that I've done deals with celebrity and desire. And so my question comes from that angle. So what draws you to a pen? What kind of characteristics sort of compels you? What characteristics compel you when you use a pen? What are the things that really make you happy when you're using a pen?
It could be a number of different things. A lot of times you can have a personal connection to a pen, whether it just be a memory or an experience. And I've always said that, it's one thing to have a pen, but then if you can tie like a story or a memory or an experience to a pen, then that takes it to another level. One of my first pens I bought was it was a black All-Star. I'm sorry, no, a black Safari that I got when we were on a family trip to Paris, and we were in the mall underneath the Louvre, and I was still very new to pens, and I was in a stationery store and saw a Safari. I'm like, oh man, okay, I'm gonna buy that, and then you buy it, and then it always reminds you of your trip to Paris, and that kind of makes it that much more special. And like there was I took a trip to New York City a number of years ago, and in the morning I went to the Fountain Pen Hospital and purchased purchased a pen, purchased a Sailor King a pen. And then that afternoon was when I went up to go interview Neil deGrasse Tyson. And that was like the pen I had purchased right before we went. And there was a picture that I took with him where he was holding all of his pens and I was holding my pen I had just bought the morning before. And so I love that pen, but then it also ties into that memory of that day and that experience. And so it makes it that much more special. So I think the more pens you can kind of tie those personal experiences to, the more special they'll become to you.
Very good. Thank you, David.
Hey, no problem.
Okay, we have Doa up next.
Hello.
With his
Hi,
puppy.
David, how are you?
That's such a cute dog. Oh my God.
Thank
if you guys have pets, definitely show off. I did lock my cat in there, but.
Hello.
Hi. So what
She's
would
so
your
snoring.
dog like to ask David Parker?
All right, David. Vanessa's going to ask a question, not me. And her question is going to be, if you were Monterey Inc., which one would it be and why? It's not me, it's her asking.
You know, okay. When I first started with this hobby, I had black ink and I was happy with black ink. And it was like, I didn't know any better and I was just happy with black ink. And then I like branched out into like, oh, blue blacks, like that's like crazy. And then after a while, then I kind of went off the edge because then I got involved in just exposing myself to other inks. And I will say that one of my favorite inks that, not just from Monteverde, but then just overall over the last couple of years has been in the Sweet Life series. The Strawberry Shortcake is an ink that I really enjoy. It's kind of a red with a little bit of pink and some pop to it. And it's been, it's something that looks nice in a number of different pens.
Just unmuted Jesse because he did show the same ink, right, Jesse? Do you have the same one too?
Yep, Strawberry Shortcake.
Yeah.
I love
okay.
it.
You know, it doesn't look like any other red in my collection.
Nice.
And that, so I like the fact that it's different. You know, plus strawberry shortcakes are pretty tasty. So that was one of my favorite inks of the last year. So I'd have to say the Strawberry Shortcake.
Have you tried the iced cookie? I believe that's Yair's favorite right now. I'm unmuting Yair. Maybe he'd like to say something about that color and the inspiration of the Sweet Life ink collection.
Ink?
Yes. What was the inspiration behind it?
Dinner. After dinner one day, I was sitting at
Thinking about desserts and then
kitchen table and I had dessert and all of a sudden it came. But if somebody was going to ask me now, I would just name the whole emotion collection as the thing of the times, you know, because we are all so emotional because of the COVID. So at the moment, that is my favorite, the whole emotion collection.
And in in my review of the Sweet Life series, we have an aspiring baker in the house. And so I had them make a really nice strawberry shortcake. And so in my Sweet Life review at the end, I show the strawberry shortcake that was made and it was delicious. And so high quality dessert.
I also unmuted Melinda because in the chat group, she just said that David's review of the Sweet Life inks inspired me to purchase a strawberry shortcake ink out of it. So.
I do enjoy reds, and when I saw how you compared it with the others and you had the desserts, it just made me pull the trigger. I knew I needed this red.
No, it's a really nice red. I like it. I like it a lot. I've been using it a good deal. I'm glad I have 2 bottles of it. So
I've paired it in.
I will like to unmute Brendan. I don't know if he has a question, but you like to say hi. One of the best Q&As that we've had was with him. I can't wait to have him back on our channel. Hi, Brendan. How's everything? I'm going to have you guys have a moment here while I'm arranging the next questions. We're in our last 10 minutes, so please go ahead and private message me your questions. This is the last chance to ask David what you'd like to ask.
Well, first off, thank you again, guys, for hosting this. It's a lot of fun. David, it's a pleasure to actually get to speak with you in person. I know we were messaging a little bit prior. I do actually have a question for you, and for me, it's more so what brought you to where you're at now? How did you decide that this is what you're going to do as a hobby?
Pens in whole, or more on the review side of things?
Both. I'm sure obviously you jumped into the hobby first, and then you had to have made the choice to start reviewing.
Well, it's one of those things to where sometimes you look at someone else doing something and you're like, okay, there is no way I could do that. I'm not a very artistic person. So if I saw a fantastic piece of art, I know in my mind, maybe if with years of practice I could, but I don't know if I could do that. I'm not going to dunk a basketball type of thing. I can't do that. But I do have a background in writing and video production and film production and things like that. And so when I was starting to look at the reviewers because just like everybody else, when I was looking to purchase a pen, I would go out and find out as much information as I could about that pen, and would watch all of the reviewers out here that were doing things. And I was think to myself, you know what, that's something I could do. I could do that. You could do it by yourself. You don't need someone else to help you. You could do it all by yourself. It doesn't take a lot to get started in it. And that, you start off doing it, and if someone watches, great. But if not, then no big deal. You're doing something you like to do. And that's kind of what it's based on, is that I enjoy, it gives me an excuse to use pens. It's helped me build a fantastic relationships with all sorts of reviewers or other reviewers, with distributors such as Yafa and retailers that I wouldn't have otherwise, and helped in those regards. And so it's kind of been a real extension of the hobby. And so then, rather than playing around with my pens, well, that my fountain pen time is the time that I get to spend with a brand new pen that I wouldn't maybe have been able to look at otherwise or see otherwise. Or someone will send me a very expensive pen that I would never buy for myself or never want to spend that much money on, but someone's willing to let me borrow it for a little bit. And so it's fun to be able to play with those things and to do that. And then, yes, is it work to sit down and write reviews and produce them and shoot them and things like that? Yeah, it takes time, but then that's kind of, that's your hobby. And like I said before, that it's kind of nice that my hobby isn't just consuming something, it's also producing things. And, now I have other hobbies that don't necessarily result in a product, but I kind of enjoy that aspect of the hobby, that it actually makes something.
Well, I do applaud you for everything you do. And I was watching one of your videos, and you mentioned that you look for specific things that other reviewers miss. And you showed that comparison of like the Lamy 2000, and I think that razor or that trimmer. And yeah, I think that's incredible, man. Like the fact that you're willing to put in the extra effort and research, it really shows, and it really shows what you are.
Well, thanks. I have a natural curiosity. So I'm thinking in my mind, okay, if I'm curious about this aspect of a pen, then it might be interesting to get that information, give that information in a review, or give it to other people as well. And so I kind of go to where I'm curious about those things. I'm always curious about, where does the name come from? How did this thing come to be? There has to be an origin story. What's the origin story? And try to share as much of that as possible if it's interesting.
Absolutely. The last thing I'll say real quick is I feel for you on the Chargers moving to Los Angeles. I'm sorry about that.
Yes, that's another long story, but that's a painful one, to have your team that you put your heart and soul in abandon the city and see it go. And what's even more painful is to see it go so wrong. It's just not working in Los Angeles. If they were succeeding and things were going fantastic, you'd be like, oh, okay, they're at least, they're accomplishing what they want to accomplish, but they are not. And so that's what makes it even more sad. So one of these days I might be able to get all of my stuff out of the attic, but I don't know when that might be.
I've got faith. Hey, thank you for joining today, man. I can't wait to meet you in person and hopefully have you on our channel too sometime.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brendan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brendan. So Isabella is up next. She's going to be asking our last question for the Q&A. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Go ahead, Isabella.
Hi, David.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. So I had two questions that Sarah said I should ask. The first one is, I was wondering what your day job is, and then also for pens, what is your favorite everyday carry pen and ink combination?
For my work, I am a business data analyst for a Fortune 500 company. So I am, slaving over hot spreadsheets all day long. If you need any Excel issues, then I'm the Excel master and the.
Good to know.
Yes.
We're going to contact you right after this call. I'm calling you.
So yes, I'm the Excel whiz and the database wizard and things like that. And so I'm kind of the guy at work when no one else knows the answer to something, then it's like, well, go ask David, he'll know the answer to it type of thing. So I'm kind of the person that provides all of the data. I do all of our financial forecasting, a lot of customer facing reporting and things along those lines. And so I do that for a Fortune 500 company. And so I am very fortunate that I am able to work from home right now. That's actually my work setup that I brought from my office with those 3 monitors. So I kind of I'm sitting at my desk that you see on my videos, and then facing the other way is my kind of my temporary work desk. So basically that means I get to spend, 15 or 16 hours a day in this office between working and then coming over to the other desk and doing something. And you know what, I would say my favorite ink combination probably my all-time favorite ink is the Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. That's probably my all-time favorite ink. I'm almost through my second bottle of that. I've gone through an entire bottle, and I'm maybe an inch from finishing a second bottle of that.
Have you ever used the Moonstone, by the way? I have some with me. That's my favorite. I keep asking Yafa to send me more.
No, I haven't.
I'm not purchasing, but asking them to send. Sorry, boss. But Moonstone is like my thing because it's not black. It has that grayish hint, so you can get away with it at work. You can use it at work. What do you think about that ink? I know I got a lot of my friends hooked up on the ink in the group right now. They keep using it. So what do you think about that? And if you don't have one, I'm going to send it right after this call too.
Okay, please, because I don't have Moonstone, but I'd like to.
We have to do that. Okay, we're sending it Monday morning as soon as possible. That's done. That's already.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And, as far as a go-to pen, I rotate through all of my collection, and every day on Instagram, you can see I kind of have my pen of the day, and I have I'm an Excel geek. I have spreadsheets that keep track of all of my usage and how long it's been since I've used pens. And if you want to know how many, how often I've used this pen on a Thursday, then I can tell you because I have it all tracked.
Oh, I love
and so I rotate through my collection, but what I really enjoy is being able to try new pens all the time. And, working with really good companies like Yafa and giving me the chance to, to take a look at that Peniter that I'm going to be reviewing coming up soon. Or I have this mountains. This is Everest? I can't remember. But this is one of the mountains.
Mountain. Yep.
Yes. Or, I had that All-American that I reviewed not that long ago. Or even some of the, this was a Durograph that was an exclusive. This one was the exclusive to Truffet.
No, it's Duraflex. Yes, I do.
This was the Midnight that was Truffet's exclusive that they had. And so, I kind of have a pen that I'm focusing on for that individual week. And it's kind of nice that, I can kind of focus on a new pen each week and kind of have a new pen to look at and analyze and use in depth in that week. And so that's one thing that I do enjoy doing.
So I want to unmute Sandrine for a second before we close off. She is our international sales director. I want her to say hi to all of you guys. I know she's connected with the international ambassadors. And she's helping out a lot with our social efforts too. Sandrine, you had this amazing contest that you wanted to mention, so I want you to have the microphone for a second and say hi before we close it off.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, David. Hi, everybody. Yes, I've been at Yafa for 17 years, and I'm the export director. And so we are, thank God to Sarah. She's been doing a great job with connecting people together. And right
That's
now,
why I unmuted her, because I knew she was going to say something good about me. Mark and Ross's turn from Yafa, so and
yeah, she paid me a lot of money to say good thing about her, so I keep doing it. So anyway, we have a contest right now, and it's an international contest. And the goal is we wanted to have our website more genuine, and the best way to have genuine pictures is to have people, to use people's true pictures. We have a good art department, but we decided we're gonna use you guys, people, and the product and how you use it. So please connect with Sarah.
I'm just gonna jump in for a second. On social media, we do a lot of like influencer content, and it's a lie, right? Website sometimes only has photos that are amazing product shots. So me and Sandrine, when we were having coffee one day, we said, okay, why not bring the influencers and pen enthusiasts and capture our pens from their eyes? Because at the end of the day, they live and breathe our pens. I think it's important to see our pens from their view versus us when it's a product shop, because that pen is not alive, right? So you guys are the ones that actually bring the pens to life. That being said, Sandrine had some time last week and she was like, okay, we can kickstart the contest. So right now, if you're an international pen influencer and you want to get featured on our channels, now is your chance to contact Sandrine or email contest@yafa.com so we can utilize the photos. And it's not only going to be on Instagram, it can go through all of our channels as well, because we want to make sure that you guys get the credit that you deserve, and it doesn't only stay on your channel. We can amplify that so you can connect to other pen enthusiasts as well. And I think that's one reason why we have the ambassador group, because we like to connect like-minded people, right? So that being said, Sandrine, thank you so much for your time. Any international question, you guys go ahead, ask her. She's the best. I'm also going to unmute Mark and Ross from my team, and then we're going to say bye, as well as Kat, because they've been helping out on these customer service orders for the last week. I've been bugging them. I know we're closed, but they're still making it happen. So Mark, thank you so much for doing that for us, as well as Ross. And Kat, I know you guys probably don't like me anymore because I've been WhatsApping Ross at
not true.
11 p.m. last night. I know probably his family is like, okay, put this on mute, but he helps out. Chris, I remember you had a question with a product. I'm going to unmute you. Anytime you have a question, or any of you guys, I send it over to customer service and they try to help out on this request. So thank you so much, Mark and Ross. And someone is busy. So with that Nokia tone, whoever's using that, that is awesome. Thank you so much. And I will have Yair and Neve and Ken close it off for us, as well as David. Thank you so much, David, for your time. I mean, it's an honor to have you here. I know everybody's excited to connect with you. This is just, it's an amazing opportunity, everybody, to virtually meet you. Hopefully next Pen Show, we're going to meet you in person as well. So yeah, Neve, the microphone is in your hands.
Well, actually, real quick, I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. If there was anyone here that didn't get their answer, didn't get a chance to ask their question, please feel free to email me directly, and I'll answer your question to the best of my abilities if we didn't have a chance to get to it. So just shoot me an email. My address is in the notes below each video. But yeah, I know we didn't have a ton of time, but shoot me an email and I answer your question.
Thank you so much, David.
David, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure. I think next month we can do it again. It was fun for all of us.
No, anytime. I appreciate it, and it's fun to get together like this virtually to still have the connections while we're all going through these very interesting times.
Yes, Sarah, thank you so much for hosting. You're great. You're doing every week is getting just better. Really,
does that mean I get a vacation or a promotion out of this? Just kidding.
No vacation.
Italy to
you can go to every hotel in Vegas. You can go to every. I know you're in Vegas now, so you can go to every hotel in Vegas. Just have fun.
Okay. Sure. All right. Chris had a question about the carbon gauge, I believe. So I'm going to unmute him for a second, and he's going to ask Ken Jones that question, and then we're going to close it off.
Yes.
I can. Question for you on the word gauge. On the word gauge, is that a limited edition pen?
No.
New word gauge?
The word gauge that's carbon fiber.
The word gauge.
I just picked up one
is
from
not a limited
from
edition,
Gold.
but it's no longer produced at this time. It was not numbered.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was limited production.
It was limited production at best, yeah. So, but no, not a limited edition.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Something else I want to say, not the pen related. Please, everybody, know we open America now, but still stay safe, wear masks, keep social distancing. It's not safe. It's still not safe to be social. Feel good and stay safe. And that's it for me for now.
Thank you, David, very much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Do for us. And going back to the contest for one more second, I'm a great believer in lifestyle situations.
I'm muting Sandrine as well, just in case she wants to say something.
Anybody who has lifestyle pictures or videos, I would love to see that, you know. And then there's a winner, right? You guys didn't mention it.
Many winners, everybody can win. This is the beauty of this contest.
Good. So any lifestyle opportunities, please share with Sandrine and Sarah, and you guys are going to win a beautiful pen. But thank you very much for everybody for joining. Really nice. Nice.
And before we go, Sarah, you want to introduce the next guests for next weekend and the week after? We have Nino.
Ken would be the best. Ken would be the best to introduce. Bert.
Yes, Ken will introduce, and when Ken is introducing, I will take a photo of all of you guys waving, because that's my favorite thing to do. So let's just show our favorite product. I know this sounds kind of cliche, but I think it's a cute thing to do. I like doing that. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, we got Bertram's Inkwell next. That's next Saturday. We got Nino.
I'm the only one doing this.
Nino the following Saturday. Me the following Saturday.
And 3 weeks from now, we're gonna have Mr. Ken Jones.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Working on Diplomat too.
Please, ask him very difficult questions.
So guys, we're gonna keep this every Saturday, 11 a.m. Even if the country opens up, I think we should keep it as a thing from now on. I really enjoy these calls. It's such a positive energy to meet all of you. I'm really happy. So that being said, yes, we do have upcoming guests, but if you want someone to be on our channel, or if you want to host a workshop for us, whatever you'd like to do, maybe show calligraphy skills or something specific, go ahead and email me at sarah.alper@yafa.com. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye.